Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about a friggin' book. As you know from the title, we are here today to talk about Starless by Jacqueline Carey. And I don't know how shiny it is because it's a library copy. I just felt like doing a standalone. I'm gonna put it up here. That might be so shiny. I have no idea. Let me see, actually. Okay, that's slightly better. Yeah, I don't do a crap ton of individual reviews, and I just felt like doing one about this book because it's not like I think everyone is gonna love this book necessarily. I can definitely see it not being for everyone, but I just thought it was a really fun, epic adventure fantasy standalone. And I think it deserves a little bit more hype, I guess. The synopsis of it from Storygraph, I will just read it because I'm terrible at like ad-libbing synopses, even of books I've read. Destined from birth to serve as protector of the Princess Zaraya, Kai is trained in the arts of killing and stealth by a warrior sect in the deep desert. Yet there is one profound truth that has been withheld from him. In the court of the Sunblessed, Kai must learn to navigate deadly intrigue and his own conflicted identity. But in the far reaches of the western seas, the dark god Miasmus is rising, intent on nothing less than wholesale destruction. If Kai is to keep his soul's twin, Zaraya, alive, their only hope lies with an unlikely crew of prophecy seekers on a journey that will take them farther beneath the starless skies than anyone can imagine. So that's the synopsis, and yeah, this is just, it's a really cool world, is like the first thing that struck me about it. I do talk about this more in my Storygraph recommendations vlog. I'll try to remember to put it in the cards somewhere, because that's where I read this from, and that's why I had it even on my TBR, was Storygraph was like, hey, we think you'll like this. And they were correct. I did really like it. The world, it's called Starless because the tale goes, their beliefs in this world, and their beliefs are true, is the first thing. This isn't a fantasy world where it's like, these are our stories about our gods, and like, are they real or not? These are very real. This is a true story. That the sun is their like main god. He's like Zeus, right? And the couple of moons that they have in this world, they have 4 moons? 3 or 4 moons. And the moons are the wives of the sun. They are the mothers of the gods. And all the stars in the sky were all the children. All of the like more minor gods, the children of the sun and the moons. One of the moons secretly had a child, a son, Miasmus, and hid this child from the sun. And then at some point, the other children, the other stars in the sky, were trying to like rebel against the sun, or they were doing some bullshit, and the sun was all pissed. So he banished all of his children from the skies and struck them down to this world. So this world literally does not have stars in the sky, hence starless. And these gods are actually on this planet. They are in this world. They are walking among us. And they're not like, oh, it's a god in human form. It's a god in animal form. They're gigantic beings of what, like there's one that's the purging fire. And this god is female, like gender identity. There's a lot of stuff with gender identity in this book. But she like is a towering inferno of fire that can like walk around the desert and can speak as well. They can speak to humans. They don't typically, they're very like benevolent, just kind of their gods that occasionally can like bestow blessings upon people or give them gifts like that help them, and they can speak to people. They just typically don't. They just kind of hang out, and they don't really bug anybody too much, you know, like they're just kind of hanging out, and different gods are all over the place. So like wherever these gods are, the immediate people in that area like worship that god or those couple of gods that are there. So it's really cool. And like from the get-go, I was like, that's pretty fucking cool setup. And this book is also in 3 parts. There are 3 sections. The whole first, and it's like in thirds essentially. The whole first third, the whole first section is Kai being trained. It's from 9 years old up until 16 years old. And we get like some flashback stuff, and obviously it's like time jumping. We're not like going into excruciating detail for all of these years. But that's where we start, is Kai being 9 years old. We get a little background of like how Kai became to be in this warrior sect that lives out in the deep desert and is like very secluded. It's a bunch of men training to be these warriors. And this prophecy basically, every so often, it's like maybe once a generation, but sometimes several generations go by without this happening. But it happened when Kai was born. That also the royal family in the area, who is blessed by one of these gods with very long life, one of those princesses was born on this very auspicious night with like some eclipse or something happening. It's like a very like, ooh, holy time. And any time a member of this royal family is born on this particular night, then what they do is they scour the land for all the children in this kingdom that were born at that same time as this princess. And they do this ritual where one of them gets picked. And it's like by the god is determining like, this is the baby. Whoever that baby is, it was Kai, gets raised to be a warrior. And when they're 16, they then go to live with the prince or princess that they're bound by duty and honor to protect. They are soul twins, as it said in the synopsis. So they genuinely are. Like when they meet, it's like immediate, like, you're my person and I just trust you implicitly. Like it's a very, you know, magical kind of thing that's set up there. So yeah, the whole first part is Kai training and learning and whatever and getting ready, you know, for this big thing to happen. And then the second section of the book, the middle section, is they meet and they're at court doing all the court stuff, and like the princess has to get married, and like we're talking about that and planning that and whatever. They're getting to know each other better and whatever. And then they learn of this prophecy, or they learn more about this prophecy. It's a prophecy everybody knew about, but they learn a little bit more and realize basically, I think this is real. And things ensue from there, and the last section of the book is basically epic adventure time. So I will say the pacing is something I could see some people not vibing with because it is kind of odd. From 9 to 16 is the first thing. But then the rest of it, sections 2 and 3, both cover like a year maybe. So I could see that not vibing with everyone. I liked it because the whole first part just built up the world so much. And I really, really enjoyed that. Just seeing the culture and like the brotherhood that Kai grows up in is very like wholesome. I mean, they're like training children to murder and be assassins, basically, be like warrior assassin protectors. But like as far as the dynamic between all of these like brothers from this sect and how they treat Kai and how they like raise Kai, it is very wholesome. They keep trying to like have Kai still have some innocence, you know, like we don't want to take all of your innocence away too young, like it's gonna happen before you know it. So like, let's try to preserve some of your childlike innocence. But then over time, it's like, we have to teach you some other things and tell you some things. And so, I don't know, the pacing just didn't bug me, I guess. I was just along for the ride and I thought it was really fun. There's some dark stuff that happens occasionally, but overall, I wouldn't say it's a particularly like super dark story by any means. It definitely just feels more adventure-y. So I didn't find myself getting super invested, I guess, in the character. Like I like them a lot, but I wouldn't say I felt particularly attached to the characters. And that's really the only thing for me that was like a drawback. There's other stuff that I would want to say, but it would be spoilery for sure. I don't know. I will just say that one of the characters that we meet and we interact with, there is a lot of interesting stuff with like gender identity happening. There is gender fluid representation here. And I mean, I'm not gender fluid, so I can't say whether or not I think it was good or bad representation, like with any certainty, obviously. Just from my perspective, though, as a cisgendered woman, that it seemed like it was done with care. It seemed nuanced to me, like the conversations being had and like the character in question, how they felt about it and like what it meant for them. And it's also different because it's like something in this world that is set up that's like part of their culture that results in this character being gender fluid. If that, it doesn't make sense without spoiling it. That's all I can really say. I just thought it was interesting and it seemed like a nuanced conversation was happening. I did see some other criticisms too of like the final third where they're like on this epic adventure, like prophecy fulfilling quest. And some people, because they're kind of like, oh, we have to go here and do this thing. And then we have to go to this other place and do this thing. And like they have to, it's like all these tasks, like quest tasks that need to be done in order to fulfill the prophecy. And someone like commented in a review, like, oh, you always knew they were gonna like fulfill the task somehow. And I'm like, I don't know. Again, for me, it's a standalone epic like quest fantasy. Most of the time, yeah, they're gonna like, it's kind of like when you read a romance. There's gonna be a happily ever after or a happily for now. That's kind of the whole fucking point, right? And most of the time, again, I know sometimes authors can subvert your expectations. Or like, if you're reading grimdark fantasy, they might not fucking fulfill the quest. Like, everybody might die, I don't know. But like, when it's not a grimdark fantasy, I'm like, yeah, most of it, duh. But it's how they get there. And like, for me, several of the times where they had like tasks to do, like they might have done it in the end, but not what their plan was. They're like, this is our plan. And then like all this goes to shit. And they're like, fuck, we gotta figure out plan B. And they would. And like, yeah, I kind of knew they were gonna like fulfill the task, but it was still fun for me seeing how they were gonna do it. And like, oh, the plan went awry, what do we do now? And I don't know, I thought it was, again, fun. I thought it was fun. I would say if you're someone that really likes like a Gods Among Us kind of world, a very rich fantasy world where you get to learn a lot about these different cultures, and you are down with like some prophecy fulfilling adventure quest times, I would say give this book a shot. Like I said, I don't think everyone's gonna love it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I didn't give it 5 quite because it wasn't like a perfect book for me necessarily, but I just had a really good time with it. And I think it deserves more attention, especially like us fantasy readers that are looking for standalones. Like, give this one a shot, man. You might really love it. Might not, but I think a lot of people would enjoy it. So there we have it. Pick up Starless if any of this sounds intriguing to you. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined and have not already. Of course, you can just leave an emoji if you just want to say hey. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.